applications do you have for seasonal help? Remember?
A great deal of them.
More, I mean, what factor?
More than we hire.
Right, by a factor of
I
perhaps?
couldn't give you that. I couldn't give you that number without checking with human resources on that. But I can tell you this: that we're always looking for good officials. It seems to be light there. We seem to be right at our number year to year, knock on wood, for lifeguards, which is always one to be concerned of. Our positions where we will hire someone that is 14 years of age, there's a great deal of applications. So our concession workers, there's a great deal of applications for them.
So, I mean, from the market's perspective, those kids love the wage that they're getting.
We're probably, if not the only,
Right.
one of the few that will hire a 14-year-old. That's why.
Right.
So they...
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think they love it. I think they just are glad to have it.
Yeah.
Well, right, but I mean, from...
Absolutely.
If you can get them for that price, why raise it, I guess, is my...
No, I disagree.
For quality.
Yeah. If my kid was playing in a rec league and some
Well, I'm
kid
not-
doesn't know the rules of soccer as an
Those
example.
guys are paid by
No,
the
but my
game.
point is that what you pay for is what you get. And so,
But those guys are paid by the game, and he's not expecting an
Not
increase
the
in those.
officials. I think we're
And-
pretty good there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, absolutely, for concession workers, which is one of the very few positions, concession workers and scorekeepers, where 14-year-old can work, that's their first job experience. We will have a large number of applications, so yes, we don't have a shortage there. I think our concerns from an employer standpoint is, even though we're exempt from the law, I think we want to try and be fair what we are paying in wages to our staff. And if the federal law, if the minimum wage is $7.25, no matter what position it may be, then I think that's a target that we want to shoot for. Whether we can afford it or not, this 25 cent an hour, I did the calculation on it. It's 4,430 hours based on what we're planning on the budget. So the impact to the budget is $1,107.50.
nominal.
1,100.
$107.50, based on the budgeted hours for hourly employees in this division.
Supply and demand. I mean, if you can get all the workers you need at the price you're paying.
That's why minimum wage exists.
Well, but it doesn't apply here, as he said, and also it's more...
I disagree.
More appropriate for private business, not...
I still disagree.
If you're looking to lower taxes, the way to do that is to broaden and diversify the tax base, not nickel and dime the budget. So if you have an attractive program, kids want to be there, citizens want to be there, tournaments want to be there, that attracts houses, that attracts businesses, that attracts sales tax. That's how you lower taxes, not by cutting 25 cents an hour off of some kid's wage.
We're not cutting 25 cents an hour. We're generously donating 25 cents more than they need.
I disagree, Mr.
Based on what the market says.
Pocket change.
Well, whatever. I mean,
What's our,
it all adds up.
What's our turnover? What's our returning workers at rate and that kind of thing? I mean, I know lifeguards, once they're trained, we lose some percentage, but...
The older the seasonal employee gets, the closer they get to
Doing something else.
Well, and that's a fair, that's a fair analysis. And if that's what it takes to keep those people coming back, like you said, lifeguards, you're never sure if you're going to have people. Then I can understand raising the price for that. But
yeah, retention of staff, our biggest concern, I think history would show, would be our lifeguards. They're also the people that stand out in the sun for many hours in the day, and oftentimes on their feet or in a chair, and they're dealing with an average of 1,100 customers on a hot sunny day. So I think it wears on them over time. In fact, usually after July 4th, when the heat picks up, this year's a little bit different, but then you start seeing some turnover. And it's more difficult to get people scheduled to come in. We safely schedule a facility, no question, but you see a lot more energy on the front end of the season than you do once it heats up. But we don't have a concern with number of people applying currently. This is just an effort to eventually try to get all positions at a minimum wage amount or greater.
Okay.
I don't think I need to really read through any goals and objectives for 2013. A lot of it's kind of staying the course, continue to do good things, grow good things. That's our plan or our path. On the following page, again, some performance measurements, all of them in the 90s. Parks and Recreation, if I remember correctly, led the metropolitan area in several categories, athletic facilities being one, aquatics being another, and park maintenance being another. So very proud of those marks. We have seen a dip in attendance at the aquatics facility, which we'll get into a little bit later, but I think overall that's even made for a better day for people using that facility. But these marks show that we're holding strong in several of these areas and like to continue to do so. Next page being the actual budget. Already mentioned the 25 cents an hour increase. Really nothing else worth noting. For the most part, it's pretty flat, but I'd be happy to answer any questions any of you may have.
Jeff, on the walking trails, bike trails, I guess that would be on the prior page. There's no, back to Mr. Press's point of, attracting community and so forth and providing amenities for them to get out and exercise and have a healthy work-life balance. Are we not growing those trails or have an idea to grow those trails with some of the incoming intermodal growth as an example?
For our greenway trails and so forth? Our recent additions include the bicycle pedestrian pathway on Moonlight Road and on 183rd Street. Those came in along with street projects, and we've got several areas, arterials, that we've marked as for pedestrian pathways. So those have been added, and once we get into the park maintenance division, I'll highlight a little bit more about trails.
No problem.
If we could hold off just a little bit for that.
Yes, sir.
Okay? If there's no questions on that, I'd like to move to our next division, which would be park maintenance. Certainly the park maintenance division has a huge responsibility. It's responsible for maintenance and care of all city parks, park facilities, athletic facilities, trails, aquatic center, and the grounds surrounding 6 city facilities. Certainly the efforts increase the recreational potential, safety, and visual appeal really to the community as a whole. The division is also responsible for maintenance of and removal of public trees. That's an area we probably need to look to grow on in the future, creating a forestry division, so to speak. But they also assist with some special events when we need to call upon them for that as well. Items to note in this particular budget. First of all, the Park Maintenance Division continues to receive very high citizen satisfaction ratings, highest among the metropolitan area, I believe. Staff is dedicated to provide the clean and safe parks and facilities and amenities for the community to enjoy. And, of course, I mentioned the recent additions of trails on 183rd Street and Moonlight Road. The 2013 budget includes $35,000 for crack sealing and repairs to parking lots. Wanted to highlight that because the drought we had last year, compounded by the drought we're in right now, we are seeing several cracks and things throughout our trail system. That happens with asphalt. And really, this would not cover all of it, but it would certainly help us try and stay on top of it a little bit at a time. Certainly areas where there's trip hazards with people jogging and walking and so forth, but it can be certainly a safety concern. As far as equipment is concerned, 2 pieces of equipment requested, one being a replacement mower. Obviously, we mow a lot of grounds and use those mowers heavily. And also, the department does have one small skid steer. I believe it's a 1997 Bobcat model. It's pretty small. Our loads over the years has greatly increased. The unit does still work. I think we could get some good trade value on it, I hope. But some of the load limits that we currently have, that is a concern, whether it be pallets of material we're having to move or accept and so forth. So something for consideration there. It's also utilized in assisting us with snow removal and things. We're responsible for snow removal in the downtown area, and so we utilize it for that to help out with as well. Some of the things we'd like to do over the next year: inspection of all park shelters, to develop a repair and replacement plan. We've got some shelters that are showing some signs of age. Probably, for the most part, some of those things can be dealt with in-house. We do some pretty good work with small construction projects, but we want to inventory all of those. Update a trail and parking lot maintenance schedule, especially after the last couple seasons we've had. And then complete an inventory with all public trees within public right-of-ways. Thought we might also replace the city entrance signs, east of the community, west of the community. It's I don't know that they're really assigned to any particular department, but they're pretty well aged, and until we have more of a monument-type entrance sign, probably ought to replace those for just visual appeal, which shouldn't be any significant cost.
I had a couple comments on those. What would be the cost of just taking them down?
Nothing, just labor.
Just labor. Because of I don't know that we could replace them with something that would be
It'd have to be
aesthetically, so.
sign.
And in conjunction with, I know there's been discussion, obviously, from the service organizations in the community of having a central place, and that may be something to think about in 14 or 15, to have it, work with them and create a monument sign that may be able to work together with those folks. So I don't know. It's just
Be possible. Yeah, to remove them, just have to assign it to be done, take some labor, but that could be, those posts could be, they're probably easily removed.
easy, yeah.
Yeah, some of that came out of the sign committee, when
Yeah.
talking about.
The appearance,
Mhm.
You're talking about the blue signs?
Mhm.
I mean, are they in disrepair? Are they bad?
No, they still work, they're still up. They're just, I think if a new sign was put up, or the thought behind it is it might be more visually appealing, especially if we used our current logo. What's on there now is dated by 12 years or more. So what I was picturing is simply, I think, perhaps even a white sign with our current logo and something like that, or removal altogether, or we could leave it as it is. It's been working there for years, and I'm happy to take direction.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that we see every day,
Right.
and we tend to,
First thing you see when you drive into town.
whereas others that are coming into town for the first time, I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's a no cost
Tear it down.
to tear it down.
Why would you, but I guess I don't understand, why would you tear it down rather than just keep it or replace the sign at a minimum?
Well, I don't know,
I mean-
replacing a metal sign with another metal sign is the right approach in this conversation.
I'd like to see something more appealing personally, and, up to date, especially if you're competing with the town north of us off of 35 with their 40-foot by 6-foot Olathe sign.
Yeah, but they have lightsabers on their bridge. I don't think we can ever get through that.
Well, perhaps something, we won't tear anything down at this point, but
No.
we listed it as something to look at
Think about.
throughout the year, so we could revisit that perhaps. The next page, you'll see the citizen satisfaction mark of 97%, which we're very proud of. The addition in trail acres to 9.35, or 9.35 is the addition of Moonlight Road and 183rd Street. Same thing with the length of trails, we're now at 9.34 miles with those additions as well. No changes in staff. The following page is the actual budget. Be happy to answer any questions on that. One thing I would like to point out to you, because it was a sticker shock to me, and something we highlighted, I think, during this time last year, was line item 4005 under electricity. You'll see a significant jump there. And for those of you that are new, to let you know what that is, and to remind the rest of you, help me, Laura. Multiplier, thank you, on the meter or meters that were set at Celebration Park originally was off. So when that was found and corrected, these new budget amounts reflect the energy used or the power used at Celebration Park. So that's really the most significant increase with the operating budget here as it stands today. I don't want to nickel and dime here on too much, but other bumps would include some repairs, $5,000 for some shelter repairs on wood rot, things like that, roof repairs, etc. Aging equipment, we bumped up repair and maintenance to equipment, $2,500. We've got some equipment that's aged. So certainly if we don't need to spend it, we won't. Under building and grounds, a little bump there. Basically, that's primarily adding $4,500 for additional playground mulch. We're a little thin in what we're adding in our playground surfaces, so it's a safety and really a national requirement that we need to have a certain level there. So we bumped that up, and then bumped up irrigation repairs and maintenance, $5,000. That's the biggest thing in that particular line item. Of course, I went over the capital outlay items with the crack seal and parking lot repairs and the equipment that's on the list for replacement. With that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions for that division. Okay. The final, last but not least, aquatics. Obviously, provides recreational swim and water park opportunities. Most all of you, I think all of you are very familiar with the facility. Continues to be very successful, popular. Actually, I did some looking today, and our numbers grew yesterday compared to last year to the same number. We're a little bit up from last year. Not a lot, but a little bit, and I think weather is a big factor of it. It's a facility that's very dependent upon weather. Of course, last year it was very hot too, so.
Yeah.
But it's been having some good crowds. Had over 1,500 people there yesterday.
That's awesome.
Like recreation services, we proposed a 25-cent increase for hourly employees, which for our aquatics facility, that is all of the employees there, with the exception of the pool manager. That is estimated at just a hair over $8,100 in additional cost if that is approved, for the same reason. Additionally, funds request $3,500 to replace the steps that go down into the lap lane pool. We've been band-aiding those some. We have to have a handicap access point. Next year, depending on how the law falls, or what it states, we may have to add a second point of entry for handicap access there. So that could bring in some additional cost, but I don't have it in here yet because I wanted to see what certainly would be a requirement. Bus,
So the steps are not because of,
The guttering.
right, but I mean, they're not because they're broken or they're.
no, they have been breaking. We've had to
These
continue
are
to.
the stainless steel ones?
No, they're a plastic or fiberglass.
Kind of thing,
Yeah. They are probably, well, they've been here ever since I have and then some, so 12, 15 years old.
But if we have to replace the ones for handicap accessible, that's a hydraulic lift, or a pneumatic lift of some sort?
Probably either a portable lift or something like that, yes, for that particular pool, yeah. Now,
yeah.
what,
Zero,
I was gonna just ask, about zero entry?
and I don't want to get too much into detail here because they're still working on this, but our zero entry may, in fact, with its ratio, may count as 1 point of entry.
okay.
We have a chairlift on that pool as well, so that would be
Yeah, I know there is a
two.
chairlift, so.
So we would be safe there. We may even be able to move that chair to the lap lane pool if we simply put an additional handrail on the steps on that northern pool. So we may or may not have to buy an additional chair. So we're waiting to see really how the law ends up before we get too excited about it.
Okay.
Also in the funds, $10,000 to replace some deck furniture. Normally, we set the amount at $5,000. We need to be a little more aggressive with that. We've got some of our white pool furniture over there. It's breaking down a little bit more now. We have been replacing it with something a little bit better. I think we'll get a lot more life out of it. It is more expensive. Our users certainly run to those, so they're more comfortable too. So since we're not painting a pool this coming year, we thought we'd bump that up a little bit, try and be a little more aggressive with replacing some of that. In addition to $10,000 in there to purchase a backup circulation pump for those northern pools. I learned a little bit more about that last year. We don't currently have an inventory of pumps, additional pumps. If we have a pump go down, we pull it out of the pit, we go get it fixed.
And what's the turnaround time on that?
Well, the circulation pump, we had an issue with it last
8
year,
weeks.
and that was a 16 or 17-hour day in a pit with a crew, 117 degrees or more down in that pit. Long day, but the hope was it was just a seal, and we got things fixed and put it back in there. What we found out in the process is that the lead time on replacing that circulation pump would be 5 to 7 weeks. So if we have that go down, then we're down. And while we wouldn't necessarily have an inventory of every pump at that facility, a circulation pump might be one to consider having a backup on.
So we're back in the same space with our other conversation that we would have,
Yes, sir.
1,400 people that would have to turn over.
Right. And we wouldn't necessarily suggest that we need to have backup for everything over there. I mean, there are certain things you can operate if something goes down. I think what we have to be careful with and what we want to do is prioritize what items should we have in inventory just in case.
Mhm.
What's the likelihood of it happening? Sometimes you can't answer that. Sometimes it's 20 years, no problem. Sometimes it's 3 times in a year. It's just difficult. But that is something we learned last year, and that scared me a little bit. So,
And that wasn't the circulation pump, what kind of pump was that you replaced?
last year,
Yeah,
it was a repair, but it was a circulation pump.
it's the main one that you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So, you always have to repair, I mean, it's a lot cheaper just to repair them, I take it, how expensive are they, I guess?
Well, we budgeted $10,000.
Right,
To
but we would
replace.
drop the new one and then
Purchase.
send the
Yeah,
other one
to
out
be
for
repaired.
rebuild and then have
It
it
just
back.
depends on
Which
what all
become
it
your
is. I
inventory.
mean, if it's a motor,
You can repair a seal, but if the motor burns, you're done.
And they're not readily available.
No, sir.
Only so much demand.
It's back to your supply and demand thing.
At least, not that we had found it at that moment. And we'll do some more research before we go purchasing anything, and this is outside my authority, anyway, to purchase without approval. But something certainly to think about. And of course, we talked about, the gutters already, so I won't go into that again. Looking at the next page, you'll see some of the markings. Citizen satisfaction still very high, leading the metropolitan area. I think actually we're, like I mentioned before, we have a better overall experience at our aquatics facility now that our numbers have dipped a little bit with some new facilities being added in the surrounding area. It's not as crowded, it's more enjoyable to use, and so better overall experience. Staffing-wise, still planning on the same level. Next page would be the budget, and outside of the items I mentioned to you, I don't have anything else in addition to point out for notes or changes. But be happy to answer any questions about any of the line items for this or any of the other divisions.
What's the daily revenue then, since we've been talking so much about closing the pool down based on mechanical issues? What's the daily revenue with the daily average? You know, there's 1,500 daily, but what's the...
How many are
Passive.
Yeah.
passive versus, yeah?
It fluctuates. Over the years, it has fluctuated. You know, I believe yesterday it was roughly 60-some-odd% were from passes, the remainder were daily passes. Pay. Concessions, we've seen roughly about $1 a person in revenue. So if you're averaging 1,100 people a day, 1,000 to 1,100, you're averaging about $1,000 a day in concessions, give or take. Weather is a factor on concessions as much as any is actually using the facility, but yeah.
And those would just be ancillary costs, losses, I should say, if we did so. Okay.
But even with some of our concerns and challenges that we face, I am happy to report that all in all, it's a terrific park system as it sits today, and one that I've had many citizens approach me that with positive comments. I hope all of you have had the same, you know, whether it be business owners or citizens or even visitors to the community. It's been overall very positive things that we hear from.
I have a little feedback from people that I work with, that their kids are been in a couple of the tournaments we've had down here. And
Okay.
good feedback on very good feedback on Celebration Park and also on the aquatic centers. So interesting, what's our Chico Sticks usage at the pool? I know that used to be sort of the kind of mainstay. I don't know what Chico Sticks are made out of, but...
Yeah. I don't know that we actually offer the Chico Stick
anymore? Okay.
But we do have some popular items there, there's no question. And
Very good.
certainly going well.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Back at it again Wednesday night.
Yes, sir.
Read through your materials. Any questions you have, please get them to Mike tomorrow, Wednesday, particularly if it's something that's going to involve some research. Otherwise, we'll take them and table them and come back at the...
Probably should send them to Laura. Wednesday, I'm going to be out most of the day out of
Okay.
town, but I will be back for the
Back for the
meeting.
meeting?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
very good. All right.
And you all agree with July 2nd? We'll try to throw in
Move
the
the,
rest of
Move the 11th.
Don't
Sure.
have much to talk about.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Good. Makes good
Thank you.
sense. Very good.
Have a good one.